Government Committee and Committee of the Whole. We are, well, Tony, can you do roll call, please?
Arenas? Cohen?
Here.
You know what, Chappie, we're in
Okay.
the closed session link,
No,
so I think we need to wait
No,
for
no, no.
Nora.
we're good. Wait, Lee,
Tony can make an announcement.
we're good right now. We're actually in open session.
We are in open
Just-
session, okay.
So Arenas? Cohen?
Here.
Here,
Davis?
Here.
Peralez? And Jones?
Present.
Okay, so I'm going to mute closed session for a second. Arenas, you will need, or go ahead and recess to closed session.
Okay, we are going to recess to closed session.
I just got a public speaker's hand up for closed session. So I'm
Okay.
going to go ahead and do that one.
Can you call on,
Yes, yeah, I'll do it. Tessa Woodmansey?
Oh, thank you very much. All right, great. Thank you. Well, I guess, you're going into closed session. So this is a comment on closed session. Well, thank you for putting that out there, that's what you're doing. And I guess you'll have it on your sign that you'll be gone for a half hour or something, whatever your closed session. And then we'll know when we can come back to when you open up the session. So, that's helpful that you're letting us know about it. And it was a similar issue that we were talking about in regards to the consent calendar and how that changed without us knowing.
Tessa, this is specifically on the topic of the closed session. You can address those other items under open forum.
Okay.
You have something to say about this topic?
Well, I was just appreciating that the consent, that you're putting it out in the open and letting us know what you're doing, and hopefully you'll let us know when you're going to come back. The screen will show that. Okay, good. And then I was just saying how important it is in our open government rules and open government, even in the name of this commission committee, is that we put those things out in the open as much as we can. As like Blair has been saying, we need open democracy, and I think that needs to be our going forward. In terms of all of our activities. So I appreciate that you allow us to talk even on your, closed session. So I guess that was it. And so I will be happy to know when you guys are going to come back, and as much communication you could give to the community is very helpful. So thank you.
Blair Beekman?
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. Thank you that you saw Tessa's hand and offered public comment at this time. Thank you. The same as what Tessa said, and what I've been asking at the BTA closed session meetings, I hope it can be learn to be a regular practice to not only ask for public comment at this time, but to make the extra effort to offer the public how long we can expect a meeting will be in session. Will it be 30 minutes, 45 minutes? I know this isn't always clear to yourselves, but to give some sort of indication can be helpful for the public so we can gauge things as well. Good luck in how you can gauge these things and offer this sort of advice to the public for better accessibility practices, and just a good luck to how to talk to speak to these women's issues. She's really doing a lot for ourselves as a community in San Jose, and it's been a lot of stress, and I hope we can learn to do this equitably, honestly, and fairly, that she has some good rights at this time that we need to address, and what can come of that. And good luck in how you can talk about this issue at this time. Thank you.
Paul Soto?
The topic is the agenda for the 25th, correct?
No, that's the closed session agenda. We're starting with closed session.
What?
There's
it says on here, it says on my screen, it says final agenda.
There is an item above that says closed session.
Okay, I'm trying to find it.
I'm going to that agenda right now.
Closed session. Okay, but what? I don't understand what's closed session. I
Oh.
thought at this point in the meeting, we decide and give comment on the.
No, this is the topic that's being covered right now.
Which one? Okay, let me look.
And it was discussed last week's rules meeting. Did you want
Okay,
to comment on that?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's no more public speakers.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
So are we,
Just say that we're recessing to closed session.
right, but are we locked?
Yeah, just say the word.
Okay, so we're recessing to closed session.
We are back from closed session. And we are now on, Nora, would this be the point where I would entertain a motion to change or modify the agenda?
Yes, Vice Mayor, I think you can indicate that for, I don't have the item number in front of me, I'm sorry, but that there's been a request from the Public Records Act appellant to continue the hearing on her item for 2 weeks.
Okay,
And that
so-
request was made through her advocate.
Okay, guys,
I'll move that we adopt today's agenda and defer item IA to the meeting 2 weeks, or is it next week? For 2 weeks, I guess we're saying.
2 weeks.
Yes.
Great. Can I get a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Tony?
Arenas? Cohen?
Yes.
Aye.
Davis?
Yes.
Peralez?
Yes.
Jones?
Aye. Okay, on to the agenda for Tuesday, January 25th. We're going to start out on pages 4 and 5. Six and 7. Eight and 9. 10 and 11. So Lee, I see there's going to be a 3.1 verbal report. Do you have an estimate of how long that's going to take?
The actual report should be less than 10 minutes.
Okay. All right, so pages 11 and 12. In taking account of time, and I know that we have the gun ordinance, which is going to require a lot of time. Are there any items on the agenda that could be moved or need to be moved?
I think we've already done the work to see what can be moved and believe the agenda is manageable, but we're happy. You'll see this agenda again next week at Rules. We're happy to take an additional look and kind of refine and come up with suggestions if any come up next week.
Okay. So 11 and 12. (13) and 14. And on page 14, I have a request to have a not before for item 4.1. Not before 6 p.m. So it's 14 and 15.
And for
And
10.1A, the land use on consent, we would like to add add a message to hear this immediately following regular consent and then cancel the evening session. This has been noticed for 1:30.
Okay, so that's 10.1. So can the maker of the motion include that to follow regular consent? And that's page 15 and 16. And do we have, I didn't see an ad sheet. Is there an ad sheet?
No, there's not an ad sheet this week.
Okay. So I'm going to go to the public. And first speaker is Tessa.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Well, in terms of what's on the agenda, there was a lot about land use issues and rezoning and whatever they call those urban villages and things like that. And we and last night, as we were talking in council, there was a lot of discussion that there was a lot of community outreach, and that is just not true. And I know you have these groups that we go to, meetings we go to and different things, but the outreach is actually oftentimes very, very weak too. Like for instance, in our neighborhood where there's, you're in the middle of commercial and residential. So when the commercial gets, developed, the outreach is, let's say, 300 feet. Well, a lot of times there's no residential within that area, even though it affects our community, what happens in the
Tessa,
commercial.
Which item are you referring to?
Well, I was just looking at, there was just things on land use and I don't know exactly, but I just wanted to say that as we go forward and we're trying to create these urban villages, and specifically where we're creating no residentiality, which is what is happening in a lot of our rezoning, is that we're putting it as neighborhood commercial, where there's no allowance for residential at all. And that's where we get hotels, because that is the thing that makes the city a lot of money. And I call it, I refer to it as financializing our land, and that we have to stop looking at making money, but dealing with, which is what Paul Soto said, the institution, which is our governments, exists to serve the needs and well-being of the people. And that means that we have to be dealing with the basic needs and going forward. And that.
Blair?
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. Thanks for your explanations of the closed session report. That was very nice of you. Thank you. To speak to the final adoption of ordinances, you're going to be adopting an ordinance about the rezoning issues for the 26th Street and East Santa Clara Urban Village project. It was spoken at about last night. I tried to say last night that in 6 months' time, we are going to have to be dealing with issues that the housing subsidy money that's going to low income and homeless issues at this time from the federal level and state level, that money I'm fairly sure is going to want to be used for high-end developers and the creation of more and more urban villages. Now, the question with that for myself and Eric Schoenhauer, he wanted a free pass, a free, that the future of urban village process should be easier in the future. I'm not so sure. Are you going to, in the future, address urban village issues to really address the needs of ELI and VLI? I mean, are we going to talk about how to house people who have incomes under $60,000? I don't think you guys want to do that. You're fearful to do that. You want to, but you just don't quite have the plans in place how to do that. I hope you can really work on that, because I'm not agreeable to making the future of urban villages a recipient of important funding, subsidy funding that's really meant to help people who really, really need it. And not for developers who are going to be saving people who have incomes of $80,000 and call them, affordable housing needs. That's silly. Let's get it together and let's practice well and talk about these issues openly, and don't be berating us for bringing these things up.
Okay, bring it back to the committee. Can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve the agenda.
Okay, and that includes,
I'll second with the inclusion of the 10.1 being heard immediately after consent.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
and item 4.1 was a not before 6
I
p.m.
was going to wait until next week because we have one more week at the time certain, but
That's true.
that's
Good
okay,
point.
because we're not sure exactly, but
No, I think that's a good point. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Tony?
Arenas,
Yes.
Cohen,
aye.
Davis,
Yes.
Perales,
Yes.
Jones.
Aye. Okay, so on to the public record. And I'm going to go to the public first. First speaker is Tessa.
Yeah, I was looking at Paul Soto's letter as he discussed his peoples and the how we've mistreated the people of the indigenous people, and that's where capitalism has been doing this. Is based on exploiting people and nature for profit. And I like the words that he said at the end, which was, the institutions exist. So we're talking about our government exists to serve the needs and well-being of the people. And that's where we have got to start making systemic change. And we're not, doing that. And our fossil fuel use is going up. And what was it, the hottest year on record? And in terms of our oceans, the hottest oceans on record. And these are what's causing the extreme weathers that we're getting. And this is where it's uninhabitable earth, and we are not going to be prepared for that, where the projection is there's so many people that are climate refugees, and just recently the people in Colorado with the fires. And so the thing is that we have to be developing more housing and also food security. That is really what's happening on our shelves of our stores. And we're not preparing for that either. And it really comes from having local, it's a living without fossil fuels. That's the program we need to be under, and helping our community to survive. Just like my husband says, to save the people. because right now we're very threatened and we need to be growing food locally, and we need to start, putting land for that use. And we're not doing that. And also with our housing, we're not putting enough towards our housing. And so we need to deal with basic needs, food, clothing.
Thank you. Tessa, try to speak directly to the letters in the public record. Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman here. I guess first to speak to my own letters. I hope we're all noticing that, there's been a real big push for new law enforcement practices in San Jose, in Oakland, and in San Francisco at this time. It's been a bit surprising, and we're trying our best to understand. It's been a bit overwhelming, and I think we really have to be able to rely on the good practices we're trying to understand better at this time of reimagine, racial equity, health and human services, open public policies, and I guess the key word at this time, accountability. How can we develop these things at this time? I think these are the ways to develop the law enforcement questions that are going around all over the Bay Area at this time. Good luck how we can do that. It shouldn't be too difficult to work on and work on these good terms. And with that, I think health and human services will just naturally arrive or naturally evolve from if we just organize ourselves well and do our practices well. So good luck how we can ask questions at this time. With 43 seconds to speak a bit on Paul's letters, I hope he doesn't get upset. We've talked often about his letters and what he's been working on many things. The consent calendar item, the words have been changed about the public process. I think we have to work more on that issue. The meeting minutes process, meeting minutes, how they're being written over the past year, they're no longer available, and they're not barely written at all. So I think we're going to have to go over a few procedural things, and I hope everyone's up to doing that. And it can be an open, good process of good democratic practices.
All right, Paul?
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I specifically put my letter in the record with respect to Councilwoman Armendariz because she does a lot of business with the city. She does a lot of advocacy, she's involved very, very heavily in San Jose politics. And my advocacy is what compelled a group here in San Jose to fire those 4 bullets while she was on the phone. And so I guess I'm putting this out there to my council people, your mandated reporters. So that means that when I told Perales about it, he was a mandated reporter at that point. And he failed. He didn't fail me. He failed the boy because that boy is dead now. He's dead because of his failure and Cindy Chavez's failure to act. I was incarcerated. I did 30 days of my life, my freedom, because I submitted an email to Cindy Chavez explicitly stating how dangerous she was and what my experience with her was. 30 days later, to the day, the boy was dead in her yard, at her house. She is ultimately responsible for that. And we expect a higher standard of conduct and ethics with respect to public servants. Not one time has this council ever called that out. She receives money for youth.
All right, Jill?
Thank you. I'm a little confused, so I just want to make sure this is the time to speak on letters that came in for the public record and our thoughts on those. Is that true?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I getting confused, but actually, I wanted to speak on Martha O'Connell's letter. I was so grateful that she chimed in here about the redistricting process and how she felt sort of appalled at it. I also was appalled, but I'm not going to kind of place blame on any one person in any way. I followed it quite closely and was just sort of astounded at the level of variation, in every different, I don't know what it was. I'm trying to express this so that I can really tell you how I'm feeling. And I guess I wanted to say that I became really frustrated during the process that I spent hours and hours attending these meetings and waiting in line on Zoom to get this opportunity to say, I can't believe you're considering switching me into a new district. Now, if I had been almost switched into a new district because of, we need to accommodate here and we need to accommodate here in population, that all would have made sense to me. But to have it almost sort of taken over, in my opinion, by very large groups that were coming in with the same form letter and speaking over and over and over again to one particular map versus the other was really unsettling. I felt like we weren't hearing specific instances, and more of a voice that I couldn't quite relate to. But what was really upsetting was, in the end, after all those hours of those redistricting meetings, to have the council members quickly come in and just take a map and then alter and then move and shift, it felt really, really traumatic almost. But anyway, good luck to you when you revisit it. It was horrible.
Thank you. Person with the number ending 4963.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Jill, for the kind words about my letter. The die is already cast. They did what they were going to do. I'm now moving on to the issue of notification. And I understand I've gotten emails from a couple of council people, and I'm grateful for those emails. They are going to make outreach to the folks that are now in their district. So I encourage all the rest of the council to do the same thing. If you have new people, please acknowledge that you are now their council member. And I understand from another council member that the office of the city manager has indicated that it is within the power of each council district to send out those postcards. So please do it. As I said in my letter, we're not chattel, we're human beings. And some of us had good relationships with our previous council member. And I look forward to a good relationship with my new council member. Thank you.
Thank you. Bringing it back to the committee.
Motion to note and file.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Tony?
Arenas,
Yes.
Cohen? Cohen, thank you. Davis,
Yes.
Peralez,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
thank you.
On to the consent calendar. I'm gonna go to the public first, and first public speaker is Blair.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. There is another dumpster day on this agenda. I thought I would just mention it. If it's past or if it's in the future, dumpster days are a great way for a neighborhood on a Saturday morning to get together and commingle and talk and see what's up with each other. And it's a great tool. It's a great way to work on things together and just have good communication. So thanks as always to have this item, and hopefully I can always speak when this item is on, because it allows me to feel more comfortable. And I hope that it's a healing thing that it can offer. And Paul is going through a lot of healing issues right now. Good luck in how we can work with his healing issues. I think one of them is including how, in all the difficulties he's having, he's trying to address, decent government issues that I hope we can all work on, like the meeting minutes, like the agenda consent calendar item. I hope it can be a process we can work on together, and it can be a good experience, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Yeah, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. That's all right, Blair. I got strong blood. We dealt with Junipero Serra. We dealt with Manifest Destiny. We dealt with Sal Si Puedes. I dealt with 38 years inside of institutions. Can handle this. Believe that. Anyways, with respect to the consent calendar, the wording has changed, Tony. That's a criminal act with respect to this document that was altered like that. Okay, after my advocacy with regard to it, all I wanted was the law to be enforced. And what you did is you went and you changed the language on the consent calendar, the wording. Now it doesn't have that a staff or the public can pull it. The fact that you changed the wording like that, you affirm everything that I've been accusing you of. Absolutely everything. These are criminal acts. All of those minute orders, they're being changed, the language, because I caught it. That's why you don't have no more minutes for the last year, because you're going to change them to make sure that they're consistent, because the inconsistencies that I discovered, I've been bringing to your attention. And the fact that you changed this and you didn't put it in the record, Tony, that is a criminal act. That means this is a perjured document. This is a perjured document. And so is going to be all of those synopsises. You think that you're going to publish those and that those are going to be adequate and sufficient. You took them because none of the agenda items has my response, Blair's response, or Tessa's response, or anybody else's response. But we are the consistent members of the community that continue to serve our community by laying at the doorstep of the centers of power that extracted that power from Mexicans, from Blacks, and from Japanese. By creating the redlining system, you must be held to account. You are not above the law.
Tessa?
Right. Thank you, Paul, for bringing up these issues and of our future records is where Paul comes from it, and I come from it too, because it is very frustrating where we're going as we have, destroyed everything on planet Earth. And who are the ones that stood up,
Tessa?
and said something's wrong? So, okay, I'm going to get back to the point. The point is about your role as our government, like Paul clearly stated, is that your role is to serve the needs and well-being of the people. And so when that was taken out of the agenda of the, and it no longer says that the people can pull things from the consent, and that, and Paul is saying it's illegal, criminal, and I'm not going to argue, he might be right about that. The thing that bothers me is that there was no public discourse about it. We weren't, I wrote our attorney and asked if, about that. Why aren't we allowed to do that? I didn't get anything back from her. However, supposedly in some December meeting of rules, this was discussed, but this needs to be discussed in the public domain. And it wasn't, that we're taking this option out and we're taking away your voice. And we have so little voice. You've already taken away our public forum, putting it at the end of the meeting, which makes it so much more difficult for people to address the council. And we only get 2 minutes as it is, or sometimes 1 minute or 30 seconds, it's up to your discretion. And so we're, and what the issue that we're saying is that it needs to come out into the public domain before we make those changes. And it's the same thing with our general plan changes. You say that you notify us, but we're not getting the notification. It needs to be in our mailbox and things like that to really address the people.
All right, the person with the number ending 4963.
Yeah, Martha O'Connell. Paul, I'm not sure when that language was pulled. I'm getting paranoid about government, and I'm wondering if it was after I stated during a rules meeting that I believed you were correct in your analysis, and I would be getting back to you. I apologize. I've been swamped. I haven't been able to do that. So it would be very interesting to see if that change occurred, because what it represented was a coalition of people on different sides of the political spectrum, you and I, yet agreeing on that issue. I will take issue with you on one thing with great affection and respect. I don't think it's Tony's fault. I think you're putting the blame on the wrong person. Tony does not act in a vacuum. I suspect that she was told by the administration to do it, which makes it even worse. So that's my opinion. That's where I think the direction was coming from.
All right, thank you. Bringing it back to the committee, can I get a motion, please?
Move approval.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, then it's been moved and seconded. Tony?
Arenas? Arenas? Cohen?
Aye.
Davis?
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
And Councilmember Reigns, actually, I saw your hand up on
Yes,
camera list,
sorry.
but I didn't see it up on with your picture, so I'm sorry.
I wasn't assigned as a panelist, but Tony just corrected that, and I sent her a text saying yes. So
Oh,
just
okay.
for the record.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are on to approve the Auditor's Office monthly report of activities for the month of December 2021. Go ahead, Joe.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm here with our monthly report of activities for December 2021. In December, we issued our annual report on city services for fiscal year 2020-2021. We'll be bringing that to council on the 25th, as you saw earlier, as you were reviewing that agenda. The balance of our work plan is in the attachment. We have many projects underway. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I ask that you approve the report.
Great. So we're going to go to the public. First speaker is Blair.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. To speak to clean energy risk management practices, just a hello to wanting to continue good renewable energy ideas and its local procurement process at this time. I hope it's an idea that all of San Jose and city government will want to get involved with and not sell it short. And good luck in practicing making it the community energy process open and clear to the public, how they can be involved. About Team San Jose issues, it's always difficult for yourselves, but when I want to talk about how open data collection policies of its ALPR's use, I think that is a hopeful project that has a lot of potential in how we better talk about AI issues as a community in San Jose. And I hope I can just be allowed in the future the space to say that and to offer our better selves, because that is what, if we do innovative good things and civil rights and good civil protections things with those things, that's what brings in people in the future. That's our better selves that people will want to be around. So please allow me the space to talk this way about these things in the future. You have equity pledge ideas, and you're going to have on the January 25th agenda items about, redefining what exactly equity can mean. Good luck to ourselves with this issue. Hopefully Paul can be included in this conversation, and I think he can help develop something really interesting, because we are getting closer to better definitions. Let's hope we can feel comfortable with what they can be at this time. And finally, I just wanted to quickly comment that, it was a pretty surprising meeting yesterday about the Charter Commission issues. I wish there was a bit more time that we could have talked all the good work of the Charter.
Paul?
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. Martha, if you're listening, it was afterwards. It was after that. They knew that I understood what they were doing. Joe, like I said, again, I read the work that you produce. I really like the yearly report, because I mean, back then, like a couple years ago, used to get this one like thick book, and you can like just sit there. I'm old school. I like going through books, highlighting, making notes in the margins. So I respect your work. However, the documents that have been signed off on, stating that there is equity within them and they can't be defined, there's some moral and ethical issues involved, and legal. Because if you're saying that there is an element in a principle that is involved, but that principle cannot be objectively defined and measured, then the document is false, because it doesn't have that which it says it has. And so they are leaving Hugh and me in a vulnerable position, because there is no accounting for that. And when you have a word that has no substance to it, that it's nebulous, and the minute that you almost like a photon, when you measure it, boom, it changes. The minute that you try to measure it, it changes. That's exactly what happened with these documents. The minute that you lay eyes on it, just like you do when metaphysics, it's the same thing. Okay, and they think that they can do it with their silence. They think that their silence is the only thing that the silence is doing with respect to racial equity issues and what has happened to me is that it is an indication that this council as a whole is normalizing something that vicious and mean and a citizen's life. And there was nothing said, and there's nothing they can do to change that record. Nothing, not even as a human being.
Tessa?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was talking about the clean energy and like Blair was saying, to have more openness about it. You know, the only way you really know you have solar energy is that it's on your rooftop, and then also battery backup. You know, as much as that is how we know for sure. And so I question the cities, saying that we're doing this clean energy and we're getting it all figured out. And even when we were talking about it in regards to our charter review, there was pushback saying, oh, the city of San Jose is doing enough. But we really need to know what's going on and have it much more clearly articulated, and seeing how we can improve it, because we really need to go to fossil fuel free and nuclear free. Those are two issues. So really understanding what we're doing needs to be much more articulated in. And not to say, like I hear Dev Davis when she talks about the clean energy, it's like, it's got to be a penny less than the PG&E or something. That's really not putting the emphasis on our climate crisis, our emergency, that we need to get off of fossil fuels, and also the resiliency of our community, because we see that if we're not off of fossil fuels, when it starts going up, when they start turning it off, it's going to either cost us a lot more money and things like that. So we need to be off of it so we're ready for the big changes that need to come. And also in terms of our battery backup, we really need community batteries, and we need to be working on that. So we don't have to use PG&E as our backup, because PG&E has the transmission lines, and that's where we're creating a lot of problems. The long distance and fires are started because of that. We even saw it in Colorado. It was caused by that, the transmission line. So we need battery backup.
Jill?
Hi, thank you. Can you please tell me what this one is? I for some reason, I'm really struggling today with finding out when I can say what I want to say, other than open forum. What are we on now?
So we're on the city auditor's monthly report for December 2021.
Is the variation of topics that people have been discussing because there's so many different line items, 25 different things? Is that why?
That's part of it, yes.
Okay. I'll wait till open forum then to be certain. Okay, thank you. I'm learning. Thank you.
No worries. All right, bringing it back to the committee. And are there any questions or motion?
I'll move to accept the report.
All right.
Second.
Great. And then I see two hands raised. Councilmember Davis.
I just wanted to ask Joe, I see on page 3 the number of audits that are in process, and they don't have dates yet, but I was just wondering, I'm guessing, are they working all in parallel, or are you staging them? I don't know if you have different staff.
They're all working first. They're all underway. Some of the work slowed because we were putting together the annual services report. I can give you a heads up, but what we're looking at. So the CEQA project is March. The grants and fleets are probably April. Semi-annual audit recommendation status report, which we just kicked off, which is not yet started because we started in January. That's also in March. So we have a couple things in March, a couple things in April, and then we're just kind of keep moving from there.
Okay, and I'm not going to steal Councilmember Arenas' thunder. I think I know what she's going to ask about, so I'll let her. Thanks.
All right, Councilmember Arenas.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis. And I think you're just as excited as I am, because I do see that we have the Bill of Rights for Children and Youth audit that has, although I think it's been noted like it's a bit behind, I think it's right on time as we're once again head on to a new budget cycle. Even though mid-year hasn't passed, it feels like we're almost on the precipice of a new budget. So I look forward to it. I know it's a TBD in terms of when you think that this is going to be finished. Is there any sense that you can give me? Do you think that it would be ready before budget? Or should
Not
I
before
just
budget. So a
put
lot of
on
our
my
work will be
realistic- Yeah, go ahead.
not before budget, but some of the information we have that we're working on, we can work with departments to, if there's any early feedback. We haven't even had an entrance conference with the auditee yet because it's a kind of a broader citywide type. Scheduling is kind of challenging because we have PRNS and library and potentially some other folks. And I hate to sound, we just don't know how we're going to be scoping it yet. So whether we scope it pretty narrowly, which we can move pretty quickly, or we go a little more broadly, in which case we might take a little more time. So we're still just in that early phase of getting our brain around kind of the scope of work across the city. And from then we'll have a better understanding of how much work we're going to be needing to do to kind of have a project that is add some real value. I don't want to promise you we'll have something but for the budget season that's so high level that's not really providing what we want to have. So I know that's not a great answer for you, but that's about all I can really say at this point.
Well, you know how to raise a girl's hopes up real high then there, Joe, because I was hoping you were going to tell me yes by June, and I was going to do a motion just around that. I actually value that you take your time and you do our children and youth. You do this well for them because this will really outline for us the direction in terms of where we should go, where we're missing some items, the gaps in our systems. The one thing I did want to just share with you is that Angel Rios in our city manager's office has been working around a youth and child master plan because through our NSC, our neighborhood services and education committee that I'm a chair of, we have been asking our directors to develop a logic model that helps outline some of the strategies that work within at a very large scale within all of the programs so that we can figure out what works, what doesn't work, and how to do things scaffold, how do we build the program so that the learning scaffolds with the youth and the children. So I think that's another area that you might want to explore.
We'll touch base with Angel.
Wonderful. And so there's also logic models that have been developed for some of the programs that I think you might find useful. So anyways, thank you, Councilmember Davis, for allowing me to make the motion to approve this.
All right. So we have a motion in a second. Tony?
Arenas?
Yes.
Owen?
Aye.
Davis?
Yes.
Morales?
Yes.
Jones?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item is Neighborhood Services and Education Committee Work Plan. I will go to the public first. First speaker is Blair.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Sorry I didn't better offer in the previous item. I really like the monthly report, audit report, because it does offer so many items that a person can speak to that I think is a good tool for community involvement. And so it's always good to hear that when that report comes each month. January, for this work plan, in January, there will be items of the equity roundtable that's still only in the proposed stage. I hope it really comes through. I think it can really help organize the future of the commission process, which is really important, and good luck how to do that. And just it can develop better study session conversations. I liked the conversations and the study session ideas last night about the city charter stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I wish we could all more talk about all the good study stuff we already worked on at the charter for the past year more. I hope you can spend time and make a special time for that in the future. A public comment time. February is fair housing. Like what I stated earlier, I hope this year we can talk about affordable housing ideas that are not just $80,000, but how about like $60,000 and less? And the ideas of VLI and ELI and mixed income. I hope we get our planning act together, and that sort of subject matter can be easier for us to talk about. And it has to be what we talk about with anything with urban village stuff in the future. $80,000 in urban village future is not affordable housing. That's regular, everyday stuff. We need to do better than that. There are a few other items that are of interest. Coyote Trail Project quarterly reports. As always, count on Davis for good wildlife trail studies.
All right. Paul?
Yes, thank you. Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. First of all, I would like to see a kind of a confluence of topics, racial equity topics, all the month of January, those met with the housing issues. You cannot speak of one without the other. So if you're listening, Jill, that's how you do it, girl. You connect it. But you wouldn't have that problem, right? Because, you know, you're the Caucasian persuasion. You know, just lead this to the Chicanos. We know what we're doing. Come from a long line. So what I'd like to see is those merged, okay? And I'd also like to hear on the record that I'm calling out Urban Confluence's participation in any kind of city business, because that is the nonprofit arm, social arm, whatever arm you want to call it, but it's the nonprofit arm of Gary Dillabo, okay? And he installs it, I think his name is Eric Rader, and he comes into these meetings begging the voters for $6 million so that Dillabo can protect his investment, because he spends $500 million downtown and he thinks he owns the place. And then they start, Urban Confluence is on this worksheet twice. It is the only organization, the only outfit that is on here twice. Yeah, they really want to make sure that they're siphoning out all this grant money, all of the city money, and just using it to fortify their infrastructure, what they have planned, because they're going to create San Jose in their image. It's already happened. But the vibrational frequency, it's low. It's like, it's very, like the way it oscillates very, very long. But there's going to come a time when it's going to get tighter and tighter, because poverty is actually violence against the people.
Tessa?
Okay, thank you. Neighborhood Services and Education Work Plan. I'm glad you have that as a program and a commission, or whatever they call it. So basically, what I've been looking at, because I'm actually involved in they're trying to reach out in terms of climate leadership. That's part of environmental services, is doing that. And in regards to neighborhood services and education work, what I was going to present to them in terms of they're trying to reach out to our community about climate crisis and preparing for that, is that we need neighborhood services that connect our neighborhoods. So I was saying, you know, if I want to create a website, but so that I can get my neighbors' emails and their phone numbers and their names and who lives there and things like that, that we have to start building resilient neighborhoods. And I think that neighborhood services and education work can help with that, is helping communities, small neighborhoods. Like, you know, we need to, you know, we have the Shasta Hampshire Park Neighborhood Association that's part of our neighborhood, but they haven't even been listening and have been actually ignoring the issues that we're having in our part of the neighborhood, because they're in the rich part of the Rose Garden and I'm on the Thorn side. So, you know, we need to have smaller, more hyper local groups, and that the city could help us create these neighborhood associations that are smaller. So that's something I wanted to talk about. And then in terms of education, that we could use our children in our homes. We need to start growing food everywhere. And so it could be part of a program to get the children and the parents to work on growing food on all parts of their property. So either they can own property so they can work on it there locally, or even within our homes, we can grow microgreens, we can grow sprouts. and then we can learn to can. You know, we need to start integrating that into our homeschooling as an addendum to our, you know, regular schooling. But even, you know, it needs to be learning to live without.
Jill?
Hi, thank you. And thank you, Paul Soto. I'm going to learn a lot from you. Actually, I have learned a lot from you, so thank you for your encouragement. I am going to connect a few things here. And what I'd like to really express is that every time we talk about equity, every time we talk about affordable housing, every single time we talk about neighborhoods, what I want to start talking about is how we have in this city and now throughout the United States, really, our conversations generally begin with who is a renter and who is a homeowner. And I find this particularly disturbing when we talk about all of our affordable housing, because what we're really doing is saying this is affordable, so some people are going to get it, some people are going to benefit, but those people that live in affordable housing, making a certain payment per month, they will not be owners. We do not see them as owners. And I want to start changing the language, if we could, somehow in all of these discussions about equity, about affordable housing. We are not a community, we are not a city of renters versus homeowners. We became very close to having sort of this cultural war break out in redistricting when there was this conversation about how we should have districts that are mostly made up of renters and we should have districts that are mostly made up of homeowners. I really reject that. I think that yes, we need to be represented. Every segment of the population needs to be represented on our city council. But we have to start having a conversation about who really needs to be seen as an owner. Every one of us is an owner and an inheritor of land by a natural right to the land. I'm not talking about titled land. I'm not talking about property rights. I'm talking about our natural inheritance. Thomas Paine is my hero, plain and simple. And I encourage every single person here, including you, Paul Soto, to read Agrarian Justice by Thomas Paine. Thank you.
Thank you. Bringing it back to the committee. Councilmember Cole.
Motion to approve.
I'll
Second.
second, but I have a question.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and go ahead, Councilmember.
Just a question. I've heard a councilmember said that you worked hard along with the mayor on putting together this agenda, this list of topics. Just asking about the balance from meeting to meeting. I know that a lot of these topics will have a lot of detailed deep dives at the NSE meetings. I mean, I see February and March, for example, 5 and 6 items, and some meetings with fewer. And I know some of these have timeliness issues, but is there an attempt to try to make the agendas more evenly balanced so that some of them don't go as long as they have been?
Yes, and we work really hard to make sure that all of these are as balanced as they can. One of the responsibilities that we have as a committee is that our council sometimes makes recommendations for some items, additional items, on top of what we normally see come through year round. Also get reviewed by the NSC committee. And so it just adds to our work plan. And it also needs to be aligned either with the budget or before the budget. And, you know, we're very thoughtful of that. I think as you see us going through this youth and master plan that I referenced earlier, I think it'll make, it'll bring that agenda together in a way that will make a lot of sense, maybe to pull in many different departments and programs under one umbrella, with the objective of making sure that we're serving our children and youth well. And I think that is one of the ways that we are creating some efficiency, but not for the sake of overlooking issues, but for the sake of making sure that our programs serve our children in the most effective and best ways. And so, you know, I would love to shorten up our meetings and I would love to have less items. in concept, but the reality is that, this committee is beginning to really have a lot of say in many of the issues that are impacting our communities because of the pandemic and because of the social emotional well-being of our children and families. And so I will work hard to make sure that we reduce it. We on one note that I will make for everybody to know is that Angel Rios has been doing an excellent job in just trying to make all of the presentations as concise as possible, so that when we are in NSC that we get all of the information, and we are starting to have our presentations get reduced really to hopefully 5 minutes. The problem is that sometimes some members don't read all of our packets, and then what we have to do with our answer and question is basically go through the presentation because people have not prepared. And so that's one of the pitfalls of any committee or any body of that is meeting on an ongoing basis that might have a high workload. As you can probably appreciate from having council meetings and rules, we're kind of in similar committees, Councilmember Cohen, so I get you. I will take that back and make sure that we have, we have a well-balanced, but most of these items have already gone through some, some forethought about how do these items line up with our mid-year, with our budget, with this and with that, just so many things that we also have to think about when we are doing this work, not by ourselves, but with other systems like the county. So anyways, long,
I know it's a difficult task.
We have thought about it.
I know it's a difficult task, and I made the mistake of biting off so much that I serve on 3 committees in addition to rules and council. So I think I hold the high number for this year. So I understand. Anyway, the only reason I'm asking is I see in May and June 2 items on each agenda. It looks to me like the April items are maybe I'm not great at judging these, but the April items in some sense seem a little shorter in terms of the kind of discussion we may have. And then March, 6 items including housing, homelessness, anti-displacement, family camp, activate SJ, all in the same meeting. And so I was just wondering, but anyway, I mean, it's really proposing anything specific except just maybe to think about whether 1 or 2 of those things in February and March can move to April, May, and then that just gives us a little more balance. But that's all. But I'm happy.
Thank you. Thank you for feedback.
Yeah.
Great. All right. We have a motion and a second. Tony?
Arenas?
Yes.
Cohen?
Aye.
Davis?
Yes.
Peralez?
Yes.
Jones?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, the last item on the agenda is open forum. First public speaker is call-in user 1.
Oh man, I'm so sorry I missed the meeting today. Oh, well, I guess I came in right at the right time. Happy New Year, everybody. And I've got a New Year's resolution that I want to share with everybody. I have a slogan, to heck with all of you in 2022. Don't want to use any foul language. I'm going to work real hard on that because I know how sensitive everybody is to language down at City Hall. Like they've never heard a swear word in their whole life. But I want everyone that is listening, if anyone is, the New Year's resolution you should give yourself is call in more, write more letters, and make more phone calls to all you people at City Council and the mayor. And tell these people they should be ashamed of themselves of what you guys do and don't do. I'm sorry, people, what you people do. Because I don't want to misgender anybody, right? But you should all be ashamed of yourselves how you run this town. I can't say it enough. We got high crimes going on, and what you people worry about is insane. It's insane. We got burned out buildings. We got shootings at Oak Ridge Mall, smash and grabs, broken windows, assaults on the AAPI community happening and their businesses not far from where I live. Where are you guys now? You guys keep a lot of this stuff hush hush, I swear. But hey, man, make sure that you do those road diets and Vision Zero and all that garbage, fictitious politics that you do. I mean, I can't wait for Hillsdale to be a one lane so Pam can have her dream of a road diet. And these urban villages, what a joke they are. They're insane. They don't work. You're going to be making coffin apartments with surrounded by old folks' homes. I mean, can you imagine these urban villages? You're trying to have a cup of coffee, you look up, and there's an old person getting their diaper changed at the senior centers that you're gonna. This place is going down the tubes. Have you seen the trash everywhere? The homeless encampments lined up with tent cities.
Okay, Paul.
Yes, Paul Soto from Horseshoe. Never insult me like that, Joe. I got Thomas Paine a whole freaking anthology of his books right here by my bedside. And he states, and I quote, has most promoted or most injured the general happiness of man is a question that may be strongly contested. On one side, the spectator is dazzled by splendid appearances. On the other, he is shocked by extremes of wretchedness, both of which he has erected. The most affluent, the most miserable of the human race are to be found in the countries that are called civilized. That is exactly the language that was used in the San Jose historical document to state that that is what they did to us when they came over here, the overlands, 1840 to 1846. This was the philosophy, and it's installed in these documents. I got those documents changed. Go to the San Jose historical context record. That's me. And it's going to continue to be me. And I forgive the council because what happened here today is the same exact thing that happened to George Floyd. As hideous as what happened to George Floyd is, it was the law that protected them to continue to do what he did. It was the law that did that. And so am I to interpret that the only reason why you didn't say anything was because of the law? Did the law protect you from showing humanity and concern about a fellow citizen that has befallen because of my advocacy here? I have your paralysis, your letter stating that you were a beneficiary of the advocacy that I do here. You stated explicitly what it is that and how impressed you are with a man that has my background, but yet has the ability to come in here, keep track, change policy, and change history. I changed San Jose and California.
Tessa?
Oh, thank you. I'm trying. Let me see. Oh, there. Okay, good. Thank you. Well, just basically, how we're going to create the issues that we need to do going forward and to really do, like Paul says, the institutions exist, the government exists to serve the needs and well-being of the people. And, I think that's such a profound statement, and it's really true. And the other statement that I've used is that our government is there to protect us from harms of the businesses and things like that, which we haven't done because it's the strong against the weak. And it's how long we've put up with pollution in our community, noise and air pollution. We don't have any controls of that. And even the cars, our cars are so killing us. 40,000 of us die every year just from the car. So it doesn't matter if it's electric or gas. It's that it's not not human scale. Too much power, too much anonymity. And that's 40,000 every year in the US. And then they say 3 million maimed and disabled from cars. And yet, we support the car. And even in our, the VTA with our Measure B, 13 highways or 13 projects being expanded. We need to stop that. And also even the BART going forward, going to Santa Clara. The BART to Santa Clara is a waste of $1 billion. It doesn't get us out of our cars. It's redundant. And even building a new a maintenance yard when we have spent so much money in Hayward for the maintenance yard. So that's barred. And we need to really, what I've been saying is that we need to have walkable and bikeable neighborhoods. And that's where our resources for Measure B should be going.
Blair?
Hi, thank you. There are some tree planting issues coming up that's going to involve California Office of Emergency Services. Good luck in those efforts. That can be an open, shared process for all of us. The importance of possibly developing at this time better voting rights for DACA children, their parents, and immigrants with working visas. I hope it was noticed yesterday that there was not a Spanish and Vietnamese translation available for the first part of the Zoom City Council public meeting yesterday, and to also mention the many other languages spoken in San Jose. It is a safe guess the reason why translation for Zoom meetings is so expensive is that they're trying to uphold some very questionable 1980s English-only policies of the state and country. These English-only policies can have the same logic as the Chinese Exclusion Act issues of the late 1800s that was recently brought to this council in abhorrence and condemnation. The ideas and logic of early Chinese exclusionary acts are academic arguments we are still practicing to this day in this country. And in order to respect some questionable ideas of American isolationism, exceptionalism, and exceptionalism, mostly based on Northern European customs and traditions. I've spoken adamantly in the past year of public comment time around the high fees Zoom charges for translation, and that we need to consider a more progressive idealism of what can be California and US multiculturalism, and that ideas of unification as a state and as a country does not have to be around English-only laws. From this, I think Zoom can learn to lower their current prices for translation, and we can begin to move forward into a new era where the sharing of different languages with local communities and at the public meeting process can be how to unify and create a better functioning community for everyone. In all our interesting regional good study efforts in voting at this time, and I hope we can also work on the serious drawbacks of 1980s English-only laws. Thanks.
All right. Jill?
Thank you. First, I apologize to Paul Soto. I did not mean to insult you. That would certainly be the last thing that I would ever intend to do. But I do want to expand just a little bit on the renter versus homeowner situation here in San Jose. What I'd really like to do is find out how we can, as a city, have conversations around each person is a resident. They are not based, their situation here is not based on being a renter or a homeowner. And every application that you go on to be on a commission or anything like that, you'll have to mark a box. You're either a renter or you're a homeowner. And the reason we do that, of course, is because we're, concerned with that there'll be conflicts of interests and who has a economic interest in one decision versus another. But we really need to look at that and find out what's underneath that. And the other side or flip side of that, and there's so many, is we need to have conversations around the idea that if you are born to people that rent, there's a very high chance that as you turn 18 and go into the world that you will continue to be a renter. If you are a homeowner, born to a homeowner, it's a very good chance that you, of course, in your life may end up being a homeowner, maybe not here, but somewhere else. And I was so disheartened to hear Randy Martinez of District 5 talk about in the redistricting meetings, he specifically said, people here do not, we are not homeowners. He said, Latinos are not homeowners. And I thought, oh my gosh, what does that mean? I mean, I know that Paul Soto's probably sitting there and pulling his hair out, but I just want you to know that that makes me crazy. Every single person has a right to build wealth, and we have to figure that out. Whether it's in the conversations about affordable housing, whether it's conversations about whether or not, in our equity conversation, we have to figure this out.
All right, that was the last public speaker. So this meeting is adjourned. Take care, everyone.